presentation of about 5 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We already discussed it in many fora that one of the main problems that we have is defining exactly what is under the RRI umbrella. I will start from one of the Commission documents, at least, that for me it's very comfortable in beginning to understand the RRI structure. And this is that RRI is the process that responds to the values, aspirations and needs of citizens. Those are very general statements, but for me it's a starting point. And if we look, for example, at the latest response from the European citizens on questioning the Commission and putting the Commission into its explanatory phase. There are three major questions that come from the European citizens. Each one is signed by approximately more than 1 million people. The first one is on human embryonic stem cells. Why does the Commission support research in that area? This, for me, goes directly to the values. The second is we have to find alternatives to animal testing. This, for me, goes, I know it's unfair, but for me, in my little brain map, it goes into aspirations. It's the ultimate answer to racism. How a society, how humans can behave to another species with respect and with certain conditions that could be considered as ethical. The third is about access and availability of water. This, to me, goes directly into the needs. Now, all three have to coexist in order for responsible research and innovation to exist. If you take away the values, it will not be responsible research and innovation. If you take away the needs, it will not be responsible research and innovation. And if you take away the aspirations, it will not be responsible research and innovation. If you have not seen the October 13th article of The Economist, I will ask you to read it, because it basically puts into question the current condition or situation in the research and science endeavor internationally. Now, The Economist says, and a lot of us agree in many aspects of what The Economist says, not in all, that the research and science endeavor is broken and needs to be fixed. Now, when The Economist talks about research and science, what I think they have in mind is a discussion of the self-regulation of science and research, meaning that science and research has to open up its very closed environment to other actors. Maybe what Economist has in mind is opening up to a particular set of actors, which are made basically the economic actors. What we want in responsible research and innovation, I would assume, is opening the research and science endeavor to other actors too. How these actors can then play a role in the regulation, self-regulation, if you like, of science and research. This is the major point, because we see more and more that events that are very esoteric to the research and science community have a major impact on economic policy and on the well-being of all citizens. Thus, the self-regulation might be questioned, but the answer to the self-regulation problem has to be a more inclusive approach, not only a response to the, not only the financial drive. There, we have a major issue, again, because it ties with innovation. What are we expecting innovation to be? Is it only a process that changes the physical world around us? Or it's a process that creates more jobs and wealth? And what is the upper limit of this? Is this limitless? Is this cost-free? And for ethics, we know, when we work in the ethics area, we know that it's not limitless and it's not cost-free. It has major costs, and some of these costs are not financial, are costs to the society itself. Barroso, when he talked to the European Parliament in the State of the Union address in, I think it was in November 2013, he basically repeated something that is very common now among the ethics practitioners, that we basically talk about economy. We have to take other factors into account when we are discussing the well-being of our societies. So a society is the well-being of the society has to extend to areas that are not only the economic and the financial well-being. It is very important thus to change behaviors. A great part of the drive for RRI has to be in changing behaviors among the policy-making elites, among the participating citizens, and among all the other actors that want to be involved in this process. And changing behavior, we know that is very difficult. And changing behaviors could come after a long effort until we reach a tipping point. And those tipping points in changing behavior, we don't know which they are. They might come tomorrow, they might come in 10 years. So RRI has not only to look at, in my view, not only to look at the theoretical framing of the discussion, at the inclusive definition that satisfies a lot of the participating actors, but also has to make an effort to change behaviors in the laboratory, but also in the society. This is not coming very clear right now. If we look at the fracking procedure, the fracking efforts in the member states, we see that we are trying very hard to repeat the mistakes of the GMOs discussion.
Well done.
So, no, and it is a very hard effort.
To repeat it.
To repeat it, yes. So, we have not learned much from previous lessons. And this is the greatest disappointment, I think, for all concerned. As a matter of fact, I think if you plot the wish of the policymakers to engage into public participation, this wish always relates to the failures of public participation to give input to the policy design. The more this process is failing, the more dear it becomes to policymakers. So it becomes like a pill. You know, okay, how can we solve that? Well, let's have a public participation. And then we do not count the input of this public participation into the policy design. And there we need a change in behavior. Sorry, that's it. The change in behavior is very important.
Thank you, Dorian. Jacqueline, please.
Okay, thank you. I think I would like to pick it up there, as where you left off, because as I already said, it's a social innovation, but the social innovation is so much different from what we are doing now, the way we are conducting research and innovation at this point in time, that we can actually not only speak of a social innovation, but actually of a system innovation. And system innovation means that actually at the level of how we are conducting research and innovation, the way we think about it and the way we structure it needs to change. And so I would say it's not only a behavioral change, but it's a much more profound change in how we organize it as well. And that means that this is going to be very difficult indeed. And we know from past experience about system innovations that it can take a long time. And actually the roots of responsible research and innovation go already back 30, 40 years. So when I was a student 30, 40 years back, that was at the time when the first ideas came up and we started experimenting with it. But it's a long time frame. What you see is that if you want to change culture, structure and practice, to do it two ways. From the bottom up, setting up experiments, and top down, having the policies in place. One without the other won't work. If we're only going to do experiments on responsible research innovation, we have a good chance of getting stuck. That we learn, but it's fragmented, we are reinventing the wheel, it lacks coordination, it lacks integration. Top down has the problem that if you only from the top down, you usually change structure. You make new incentives. You try to, for example, say that your research proposal has to be linked to patients. Well, it's an enormously good idea to make it a kind of greenwashing, because if I have a patient organization ticking the box and saying, okay, then you're done. So usually what you see here is evasive behavior. People seem to comply but don't do it. And also they lack often tools, they lack competencies. So I would argue that in thinking about an agenda for a forum, that as a matter of fact you have to think about both linking the experiments and linking the policy level. And I think that if you look at the different projects that are on the ground now for responsible research and innovation, they do have a very nice spread. You see, like the Toolkit project, RRI Toolkit, is trying to identify best practices and learn from that and change them into a training tool. So seeing that competencies are being built. We see projects on CSOs, trying to get them on board of the research and innovation projects and enlarging the pool of actors in that. Well, the forum actually is a way of being able to connect. And I think that if the forum is going to take this helicopter view and trying to come up with an agenda that takes action and coordinates action on all these different levels, bringing it together, then we have a fair chance of really making a difference. And I'm in the Faculty of Science, working together a lot with natural scientists who are in many of these projects, and we still have a pretty long way to go, because what we were also talking about, the sense of urgency that might be lacking. Otherwise we are going to have this lots of talk without action thing. And I think we have to be really aware of that actually in many cases the sense of urgency is still lacking. For many, research is going fine. We have very nice tools. We have done a good way. Scientists are very happy with their penicillin kind of things. So the benefits, showing the benefits and getting projects on the ground in which we perhaps seduce a bit scientists to go along, we often see that if they see it working on the ground, they lose a lot of their skepticism. And when positive things come out, and the projects I have seen always have these identification of blind spots, of very interesting new avenues for research coming out of all these multi-stakeholder inputs. So I think that if we collaborate and get it really going in different experiments, we can have also the scientists on board. And I think that will be a real challenge for the next years to come.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Adriana, the floor is yours.
Yes, it is very difficult to stop to one agenda to these topics because it's very, very large. Listening today, many presentations, many approach, many challenges. It's very difficult to go out from a vicious circle of science on innovation and responsibility. Ari, a few minutes ago, told us about changing the shift from responsibility to responsible. And the other colleague speak about science, the other speak about social innovation, but it's very difficult to say something directly to one topic because it's a mix of topics, and for this reason must be involved many stakeholders in this research and in this project. Because if you learn about internet, like Janet, we speak about ethics and about privacy, about norms, about European policy and about the other problem. If we listen to the other colleague concerning science, we think about progress, technology, about innovation as a process and as product, especially as product. If you ask something from social field, they speak about social innovations that challenge for new society, for European Union, for new development of society, for e-governance and new form of governance. For this reason, it's repeat again, it's very difficult to go out from spiral of some challenging, top down, down top, and for this reason we have to have an not unitary approach, because it's impossible to have only one approach, to multiple approach and to be directly to the problem, not to the topics. That is very important, to have solution to problem and not to the topic entirely, to responsible innovation.
Thank you very much, Adriana. Elizabeth,
Hi.
please.
Hi, good morning to everyone. My field of research is on the social impact of corporate social responsibility programs and social responsibility. So I work in a business school, so my approach is totally different from what I heard here. But I want to put in the table two issues. The first one is the social impact, so how we are going to measure, or if it's relevant to measure the social impact of this Responsible and Research Innovation Forum. So social impact is at what level, to whom, and the other aspect is on civil society. We talk a lot, I have heard a lot about civil society, but better to talk about civil society, maybe it's good to talk about the stakeholder. So, because the stakeholder theory, the origin of stakeholder theory was to this amorphous and abstract term of civil society give a concrete content. So, give a stake, a claim. So, in this civil society group, we have different type of stakeholders that have concrete stakes that want to defend or want to claim, no? And coming back to the social impact, I think it's really important because if we are not able to give a concrete measure of a social impact, why stakeholders want to invest time, money, or time, or to participate in this forum? So we have to demonstrate the social impact. So we have to think of measures. What is going to be the measures, and what kind of measures we have to end up. Maybe it could be one of these, social impact could be the one issue of this self-regulation. We end up with these measures.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Amparo? Yes, here you are.
Thank you.
There you are.
Well, my view is a bit different because I'm a tax law professor, and well, the point is that I do some research on responsible investment in developing economies. And my view as a citizen and as researcher is somehow relieved after hearing your voices here, because I think that at least we are making an effort to get some value for money as taxpayers, to get some responsible research and innovation. But I'm afraid, as a lawyer, of the effort to try to find legitimacy outside the traditional ways. I mean, I understand that involving a big number of stakeholders is interesting, but to avoid those failures as we have seen in the Internet Governance Forum, maybe we should structure the way to fit in that input into the legislative process, and maybe through the commissions in charge of each parliament, because if not, self-regulation is good and it's an interesting stage, but I think it's a way to find a consensus to promote the legislative approach afterwards, at least in a minimum. And when we face a different context with sectoral patterns and with territorial approaches that are completely different, to fix that minimum step and standard, I think this effort is worthwhile, but we shouldn't stop here. And as a research